Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 nerds by nerds. Hang out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
So you want to build a dex-based paladin for your D&D game? Well, there's some things that you're going to want to know first.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
All right, building a dexadin.
A dexadin? What is a dexadin?
Sounds like a drug you take when you got like sinus problems or whatever.
We're going to do a character build, and we're going to make a dex-based paladin. And I had not heard of the term dexadin until about a week or so ago when I saw something on Facebook, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe this is something to talk about.
First, you're probably like, is this a weight loss supplement? What is this? One of the things about playing the paladin, right? You need like 3 stats.
Well, typically you need whatever it is you're using to hit things. You need your constitution, you need your charisma. Some say you need wisdom.
It's kind of resource intensive. And so when you're thinking about, well, what are you going to play, especially if you go in dex-based, because by going dex-based, you basically eliminated one of the benefits of being one of the warrior classes, and that is heavy armor.
I'm going to strap on the heavy armor, and therefore dex becomes a dump stat. I don't need to worry about it. As a paladin, I'm going to have good saving throws because I'm going to add my charisma modifier to all of my saves, so it's not a big deal.
You're instantly also going to have to chuck one of your fighting styles because it's absolutely useless now. You know, the great weapon fighting, obviously, if you're going with dex, not going to be super helpful.
Absolutely. You can't use dex with a heavy weapon.
So the next thing to kind of look at is what races are going to kind of lend to what we're trying to do here.
Well, obviously, you're going to look for the stats or the races that have stat bonuses to dex, constitution, charisma.
Right, and there so happens to be a few of them, so it kind of works out. You know, halfling actually works out really good because you can go charisma and dex, you can go charisma and con, depending on which route you want to go. Now, there is some leeway with the paladin to kind of lay off the charisma, but I feel like con and dex are going to be super important to this build.
You know, you could go half elf, easily getting that +2 to charisma and 2 +1s. So you'd get a number of decent stats.
Nothing is going to be better than the half elf, honestly. I mean, there is some other things like the goblin gets dex and con. We also have a tabaxi that gets dex and charisma. Eric Genasi gets con and dex. All of these will work, and by work we mean you can get 16s in 2 of those 3 stats. That's a big deal.
Absolutely. Now, part of me really wants to, turn this goblin into a dexadin just because the sheer hilarity of a goblin paladin.
Well, yeah, I mean, that could be fun. And that being said, too, like some of the other builds that aren't as optimized, they can still be fun. There is always that. Now, the other thing about playing, the Dexadin is you're going to either focus on medium armor or light armor, depending on what you want to do.
Depending upon how much you're actually going to push that dexterity score. If you're planning to only take your dexterity up to a 16, you don't want to bump it up, which does mean that you're going to suffer those bonuses to hit and damage when you're fighting with your rapier, because let's face it, if you're fighting with a dex-based weapon, you're going to go with that D8. You could go medium armor master. That's going to get you a +3. You strap on a shield. You go defensive. You're sitting with a nice armor class.
Yeah, not only that, too, you also will not have disadvantage on your stealth checks for you stealthy paladins out there. But being a Dexadin, you may very well be one of those paladins.
Now, the other side of it is, you could go light armor. Now you don't have to take the feat, medium armor master. You use light armor. You get your dex all the way up to a 20. You're only suffering a -1 to your armor class. You're not having a negative on stealth checks. So you're trading that feat for a single point of armor class. You now can take your dex up to a 20, benefiting from that extra plus to hit, plus to damage, and the plus to armor class.
Right. And when you break that down, that ability stat, if you turn it into a feat, it gives you 1 point of armor class, right? But if you turn it into a stat adjustment, it gives you a bonus to hit, a bonus to damage, a bonus to your dex saving throw, and a bonus to your initiative. And then the ability to keep pushing it out. So I really feel like that kind of outweighs the 1 point of armor if you're trying to be as efficient as possible.
Yes.
And then the other part of this is because you have 3 stats, if you're really trying to max them out as much as possible, then you're going to probably want to not take feats and just keep increasing your stats.
And there's not a whole lot of feats that you might want to take with a paladin, or with a dexadin. So that does give you the option. If you're starting with 2 16s and a 14, you could take it up to 2 20s and a 16, or a 20 and 2 18s.
They're all things you're going to weigh out. So let's talk about fighting styles. We've already eliminated one. We've already pointed out the value of taking defensive. Protection, never a bad choice either.
As a paladin, I like protection. If you're going to be, in the thick of it and you're going to have somebody fighting next to you, it's nice. I would want to put that defensive, though, because you're not wearing that full plate.
Or, you're hitting with a smaller weapon. So there is always the idea of taking dueling and getting a +2 to damage. So you're low damage, you're actually probably better off than a heavy weapon fighter. And the high end of your damage is you're kind of balancing out a little bit.
Being able to parse that up with the heavy weapons, that's not too bad.
That's just really a decision. Do I want to do more damage or do I want to be harder to hit? And, you can determine from there. So it is viable. There's a lot of fun ways you can go. You can build a pretty cool character with a dex-based warrior and still be a paladin, even though I typically think of the full plate all the time.
Absolutely. And it'll totally shock some people if you roll up there with, oh yeah, I'm playing a goblin paladin or I'm playing an elven paladin, and it's like, dude, you're wearing studded leather. Yeah, I'm good.
Oh yeah, that's one of the ones that we forgot to mention too. Speaking of elven paladin, the drow is another one is actually optimized to be a paladin. Go figure. Paladin of Conquest probably.
Well, sometimes you gotta be at the other side.
So, it just gives you different and interesting ways to play your paladin. And like you said, when you roll up and you're wearing studded leather armor, maybe you have a shield and a rapier, it's not what someone is expecting when you start smiting things.
Smite thee with my stabby pointy weapon.
Well, and you know what? That goes the other thing too, like when we were talking about feats. Like if, say, you decided to take a feat, like, I think I'd much rather take Shield Master than Moderate Armor Master or the Armor Master one that gives you a 1.
Yeah.
Where you're going to get way more cool things that you could do. And technically, right, you get that special attack with your shield that doesn't do any damage but knocks people prone. I wonder if you could smite with that. If that's considered a weapon attack for you after you hit with it.
Wow, that's one spectacular shield hit.
Your shield smashing people for 5d8. And you might knock them on their ass as well.
See, I'd knock them on their arse with the shield, and then I'd take the attack with advantage to get that better chance of being a crit, and then smite.
Why not do them both?
Smite.
So it's just another way of doing it. But, there are several fun ways to build the Dexadin. The question is, are any of you guys playing this character build in your games? We got a place where you can talk about it down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to check out the store over on Nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.